Welcome, everyone. This is the PartsVu Xchange Talks Boating podcast. Here we chat about all things boating with marine industry professionals and enthusiasts who spend all the time they can out on the water.
Hi, this is Tanya Becker, and I'm your host for today's episode of PartsVu Xchange Talks Boating. Turner Burwick with Brite is here with me today, and we're going to talk about the science behind addressing stains that manifest within the marine environment, both how to remove stains and how to protect your boat's surfaces to minimize them in the future. Given all the various types of stains that boats are exposed to and we experience within the marine environment, plenty of stains and surface level damage can occur. It can be really frustrating and quite ineffective to use the wrong type of product for a given stain. But after today's conversation, you'll be an expert on the topic. Thanks so much for being here today, Turner.
Thanks for having me, Tanya. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. There's nothing like talking about stains.
Yep, the best part about boating right there, cleaning them.
Yes, getting rid of them. I received quite a stain education as we were preparing for this episode and learned a lot of things I really just simply didn't know. I mean, it feels like there's a lot of different stains we have to manage on or in our boats, but there's really only 4 main types I've learned from you. So could you fill us in on the 4 types of stains that there are?
Yeah, so there's 4 main types of stains that you're going to find around the different surfaces of your boat. Those are mainly going to be dirt and grime, rust and tannic stains, mold and mildew stains, and scuff marks or transfer stains. I'll go into a little bit more about each of those stains and where they come from. So dirt and grime is really going to be your everyday stains, your mud, road dirt from trailering, footprints, food, drinks, fish blood, chum, all that good stuff that just comes along with a day of boating. And for rust and tannic stains, those are going to be rust stains from metal hardware or hooks being left around. And tannins are actually naturally produced in plants when they're breaking down in the water, whether it be leaves, mangroves, anything like that. And that's just organic material that seeps into the pores of your fiberglass and causes those signature orange stains that you're seeing. Mold and mildew is going to be, black mold, brown, green, pink, all those different colored mold stains that you're seeing around the boat. Those are caused from excessive moisture. And those are, organic stains. They're a little bit tougher to deal with and require certain technologies. And then scuff marks or transfer stains. Those are actually going to be when something is actually transferred from one surface of another. So whether it be like a hose that you're dragging around the boat when you're cleaning and it transfers some of that rubber markings onto the boat, or chemically resistant shoes that are leaving scuff marks all over the place. A lot of those stains are tough to get rid of with chemicals, and they require a certain technology to get rid of as well. So each of these stains are made up of a little bit of a different thing, and they require their own technology to break them down and get rid of them, clean them, and to protect them from coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the tannin stains are particularly kind of interesting to me, and they can be kind of tough to deal with. Some bodies of water have a lot more of that tannin in the water than others. I mean, I think it's just the type and density of the plants, right?
Yep. There's some waters that, are crystal clear and blue, and you could leave them in the water for, a month and you won't get any of that orange waterline stains. Or, you may be back in the Everglades when there's tons of plant matter and, decomposing, sawgrass and leaves and things like that, that are really leaching into the water supply. And that's what, the same thing that's going to be leaching into your fiberglass and causing those stains where, you leave your boat in the water for a couple of days and you're already getting those stains.
That's happened to me before, that's for sure. It happened to all of us.
Happens to all of us. Yep.
So if we could, let's dig into each of these categories and discuss the science and the chemistry behind tackling each of the stains, if you would.
Yeah. So with dirt and grime, you're actually going to want to use a surfactant or a surface active agent. And what these do is they actually break the bond between, the dirt and the fiberglass or the dirt and the surface that it's attached to, and makes it easier to clean up. So, things like that are going to be boat wash, deck cleaner, extreme clean. These are all different types of surfactants. They all do a great job at, removing different, dirt and grime in those stains I mentioned earlier. Rust and tannic stains, you're going to want to use an acidic product. Probably our hull cleaner is usually going to be your first product you reach for when you're dealing with a rust stain or a tannic stain. That's a modified oxalic acid that's going to be, pretty safe to handle. It's going to safely remove those tannins and those rust on contact. And then mold and mildew is actually a pretty interesting stain. you're actually going to want to use a bleaching agent. And the oxygen in the bleaching agent actually attacks and breaks up these stains and removes the discoloration. Mold and mildew stains are actually kind of similar to leaf or grass stains, lawn stains. If you ever deal with those, on old baseball plants or anything like that, they just can't get rid of. That's where you'll want to use a bleaching technology. And, most boaters, their first reaction is going to be to grab their old bottle of Clorox from under the sink. Regular chlorine bleach is not the answer, though. It causes more problems than it solves. It's going to destroy your gel coat. It's going to break down your fabric, your stitching, things that are, pretty valuable on your boat. So what we did is we had our chemists put together a, buffered bleach formula. And it basically chemically modified it to be a little bit safer on those things that are so important on your boat, like your stitching, your gel coat. So it's going to remove those stains using the bleaching technology, but it's not going to harm the surface. And then scuff marks is, you just need something with a little bit of abrasive. So for on the hull, we usually recommend our, cleaner wax or restorer wax that's going to have some abrasive and some protectant to remove the stain at the same time. Or if it's on the inside of the, inside the hull on the interior, we probably recommend something like our magic sponge, which is more of a micro abrasive, which is going to remove those stains pretty quickly and pretty easily.
I know how frustrating mold and mildew can be. And you're right. I mean, the first impulse is to grab bleach, right? But it's, everybody knows what happens if you dump bleach on jeans or clothing or eats a hole in it, right? I mean, it's like you
right.
That's what's going to happen to your, to the threading in your seats and other materials in your boat.
Yep. And it may not happen instantly where, you're pouring
right.
it on there. And that's what a lot of people, I've used, bleach on my seats for the past couple months, nothing's happened. But, in a year, 2 years, 3 years, all of a sudden you're sitting on your seats and all the foam is deteriorated on the inside and you're wondering why you're feeling like you're sitting on a wooden board. A lot of those issues can be traced back to the products you're using to, maintain your boat in the first place. And it's, it all comes down to the products that you're using.
Yeah. It'll crack your vinyl as well. It'll contribute to that.
Oh,
a lot of times as well. The other common product that boaters reach for, and I have been guilty of this at past periods of my life, is grabbing for dishwashing detergent like Dawn or something. And we don't want to do that either. And why not?
Yep. So you definitely always want to go with some type of boat wash or, a wash that's formulated specifically for boats because it doesn't have those grease cutting agents that typical dishwashing detergents have. They do a great job, dishwashing detergents, at cutting through the grease in your food and, those different oils and fats that are left on your plate. But they also do a great job at cutting through those protective coatings on your hull, things like your polishes, your waxes, the things that you're using to protect your boat from those UV rays. So what we always recommend is use a boat wash that's specifically formulated to not cut through those grease agents, but still has those surfactants or surface active agents to remove that dirt, that grime, and all that good stuff that builds up over time.
I mean, a lot of the grease, quote unquote, in the marine environment, we want on there, whether it's, not grease, obviously, but wax or what have you. So, once stains are removed, it makes a lot of sense to try to protect surfaces to minimize damage going forward and to try to prevent a problem, especially if you had a big mess that you had to clean up. And I think, from my understanding, the clean and protect approach is really at the heart of how Starbright approaches your marine cleaning and care line. Could you run down like each stain type and talk about how to protect surfaces so people
right
have a little easier time?
So that's definitely our motto here at Starbright is, we definitely just walked through and identified how to clean these different types of stains. But now we want to identify how to protect from each of these stains. We don't want them coming back as quickly. There's no stopping them from coming back. They're going to eventually show their face at one point or another. But, using the right products to protect them from them will prevent them from coming back as quickly. So for dirt and grime on the interior of the boat, we'd recommend deck wax or non-skid deck wax. It's a great follow-up product for the non-skid deck cleaner or boat wash. And what that's going to do is it's just going to add a nice layer of protection to textured surfaces. It's going to basically create that little invisible shell over your non-skid decking where, fish blood gets on there or dirt, a bunch of those good things. It's not going to seep into the cracks and crevices of your textured deck. It's going to sit there on the surface and make it, clean up nice and easy where you can just rinse it off with some fresh water without any tough scrubbing and rubbing and, all that hard work. Rust and tannic stains, the best protectant for that is actually going to be a marine polish. If the water, supply that you're in or water system that you're in has a ton of tannins, a good polish will seal those fiberglass pores to an extent. It's going to prevent them from coming back as quickly. But, if you're leaving it in there over time, for a couple of days or for, a couple of weeks, those stains are going to return and you will want to have to use a, instant hull cleaner to remove those stains again in the future. Mold and mildew. We have a mildew stain blocker. That's a great follow-up product for our mildew stain remover. Application lasts a couple months depending on how often you're using the boat. We recommend just spraying down the seats and everything like that after you're done cleaning the boat and letting it dry, and that'll give a nice protective barrier over your vinyl seats and things that are prone to gaining mildew. And then scuff marks. There's not really a way to protect from them. They tend to happen whether you hit up against a mooring ball or, again, you have those shoes that are, marking all over the place. If you use a magic sponge, it is going to braid away the protective coating that you have on there. So we recommend using a speed detailer or protectant like our boat guard. And you'll just follow right after, in a spot treatment, say you cleaned a little square foot, 1 foot by 1 foot area. You'll just want to use that boat guard right in that same area that you cleaned to give it a little bit of shine and UV protection and, restore that area you just cleaned.
And I mean, so it really sounds like, obviously setting aside scuff marks, the other types of stains, it's really all about putting a material appropriate layer of protection over top of the material. Material appropriate, obviously you can't use the same,
Exactly. And yeah, that could actually lead us into another thing real quick when it comes to surfaces. There's a number of different surfaces found on your boat, and each of those surfaces requires a little bit of a, different approach. Sometimes, you may want to use one technique with your vinyl, and then, metal may require a different, approach, and then fiberglass requires a different approach. There's a tons of different surfaces on boats that, require a little bit of different attention.
And I do find those magic erasers really magical. Like,
yes.
And it's just like a very mild abrasive, right? I mean, that's how they work?
Yep. They literally, start to fade away before your eyes. You're using them and you can actually see them wearing away. They're great for, specific applications. I always like to have one in a hatch, on the boat. You never know when you're going to need one, and, they don't take up too much space, and they're definitely great to have aboard.
And I mean, of course, as we all know, the marine environment presents unique challenges. And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that. I mean, we have to protect surfaces against the UV rays. I mean, and certainly in some, environments like the South, Florida and so forth,
certainly
the rays are more intense, and also salt,
yes.
How can we protect, deal with those
influences? So with UV rays, if you're a boater and you're not protecting or acknowledging that UV rays are there and they're beating down on your surfaces consistently, it's one thing you definitely have to be aware of. UV rays are constantly breaking down the pigment in your gel coat, causing fading. They're causing oxidation. Things that are going to cause you to have to go back with some type of wax and polish and a lot of effort and restore these things. So you want to make sure you're staying on top of it with a seasonal polish job or wax job. And then, it's also going to discolor your interior as well, as these UV rays beat down on your, the hard plastics around your GPS housing and your upholstery on your vinyl. It's going to cause it to fade. It's going to cause it to dry out, crack. In a couple of years, it's going to look like it's 20, 30 years old. And if you use the right products, it could look like the day it came off the lot. And then with salt, we definitely recommend using some type of salt off product that's going to help, remove the salt deposits and neutralize the salt from further corrosion, whether it be on your fishing tackle, your dive gear, your, T-top, boat, anywhere on the engine cowlings. Inside the engine itself, we have an applicator that runs salt off through the actual engine to neutralize the salt that's actually in the intakes, that's in the actual engine itself and causing corrosion and causing damage that you're not even seeing. Those are definitely things that you want to be aware of. That salt is definitely being left on the surface of your boat. If you're not washing it immediately after use, that salt is just caking up on your different surfaces around the boat. It's causing damage, and it's causing you to, have to replace those things in the future quicker than you would have if you'd used the salt off product.
And I think any boater that's boated in saltwater for any length of time understands what salt can do, and maybe they learned that the hard way. But there's so many.
Whether you learn quickly or not, you'll learn one day.
I just wonder about all the new boaters that have come into the market since the onset of the pandemic. Whether we're in the middle of a learning curve there.
Yep, that's definitely a new market that we've been trying to engage and let these, new boaters out there know that these are things that you'll want to be aware of and they're things you're going to want to protect from. And if not, in the next couple of years, you'll realize why we were trying to get that message out to you that, preventative maintenance will save you a lot of money in the future. And, the right techniques will definitely make your equipment last a lot longer than it would have without them.
I mean, the other thing we have to consider is our waterways, right? I mean, and I know Starbright is very conscious of making marine safe soaps and things. How do you consider the health of the marine environment, and how can boaters best avoid introducing chemicals into waterways that shouldn't be there?
So we always recommend to the customer, read the labels of the products that you're using, look up the local regulations of the waterways that you're in. Certain lakes and rivers may not allow certain chemicals while other places may, or different local governments. So we always recommend using that, and also look into the companies of the products you're using. You'll know that Starbright is 100% committed to, doing the best we can to keep our waterways clean and pristine and clean and protected. That's our motto. We are always going to be that company that's putting chemicals in plastic bottles, but we definitely try to offset that the best we can. We're always trying to, we just launched our Sea Safe Clean Water Collective the other week. We had our first event where we, at Marker 24 Marina, it was our first event where we actually went and replanted a couple hundred mangroves, over a couple thousand clams, and did a trash cleanup on the last day of the event where we picked up a commercial dumpster's worth of trash up in Merritt Island and Cocoa Beach. So that was a great, community effort. We got a bunch of volunteers to join and really, put all these mangroves back into the society. Those are going to clean the water and protect the water. And, we really take that motto out into the real world and try to clean and protect our waterways.
That's awesome. Yeah, because so much of boating, we all want to boat on nice waterways, but also many boaters fish. And keeping the waterways healthy is not only the right thing to do, but if you like to fish, it's pretty much in your self-interest.
Yeah, just always read those labels and look which products are going to be biodegradable. There's certain products that you want to be doing at home that, that those are the jobs for at home or when the boat's out of the water. And then there's products that are, perfect for after a long day of fishing for a quick wash down that, aren't going to damage anything. You don't have to worry about those getting into the waterways. It's all about just knowing the products that you're using and, when to use them and the right time to use them.
This is kind of an offshoot. This next topic is kind of an offshoot of the rust category.
Okay.
But if we could talk for a minute about cleaning and restoring, protecting metal surfaces like aluminum or stainless steel, how should people think about that?
So you would look at it the same exact way. You would kind of identify what stain is going to be on there. Is it going to be a rust stain? Is it just some, mineral deposits or water deposits that are on there? So you're going to identify which product you're going to want to use to clean it, whether it be, our rust stain remover to remove rust stains, or, a typical extreme clean to remove finger smudges and things like that. And then you'll follow with the right protective product. For aluminum, we have a full line of aluminum products like our aluminum cleaner restorer, our aluminum polish, and our aluminum protectant specifically formulated for aluminum. And then stainless steel, depending on what stain you're removing off of it, you would then follow with probably our chrome and stainless steel polish. We always try to name our products appropriately and make it easy for the customer to identify.
And people want to use these products well before you get to the rust stage, when you start seeing oxidation.
Yes.
Everybody knows what oxidation looks like. That's the precursor to rust, right? So
Yep. You definitely want to stay on top of it with, polishing everything like that. There's going to be times when, it either gets away from you or you just, you're walking around the boat and you see a rust stain dripping from a piece of metal hardware that, water got in there and salt just started to cause corrosion. And that's where that rust came from. So, there's not much you can do except, grab the right chemical, remove it, protect from it, and move on.
So here's one more offshoot kind of question for you. Bilges, they can certainly become plagued with grime. Do you have any suggestions for listeners, in terms of how to maintain their bilges?
So we actually have our bilge cleaner. That's, what we would recommend. Not everybody has it around though. So if you don't have a bilge cleaner or anything like that, you just have a bottle of boat wash lying around. Probably pour a couple capfuls into your bilge and just fill it up with water, swish it around with a brush or something like that. That makes a great bilge cleaner, and then just pump it out with your bilge pump. It'll clean out the inside of your bilge pump and everything like that. There's no caustic chemicals or harsh chemicals that's going to destroy the housing of your bilge or anything like that. So you could just pour it in there, let it sit for a couple hours, let it break down that grime, that grunge, and all that stuff that's building up over time. And just flush it out with your bilge pump and you'll be good as new.
Awesome. That sounds easy enough.
Yep, definitely. It's definitely easy.
Well, thanks so much for being here today, Turner. It was, it was a great conversation, and I think that the information and insights you shared will be really helpful to people. I'm also going to include in the show notes a link to your Stains 101 piece.
Awesome.
Your piece so that people can access that. And,
it's a great piece for new boaters to check out. If you guys are a new boater out there and you're kind of just a little bit confused on how to maintain your boat, that's going to basically encapsulate all the information we just talked about into an easy to read pamphlet. It's going to break down the 4 stains, the best product to remove the stains, and the best product to protect from those stains in the future. It's a great resource and always a good thing to check out and read.
And we're also, at PartsVu, we're proud to carry a wide assortment of Starbright products, and encourage our listeners to check that out. I've included a link in the show notes. And it also, Starbright, you guys have done an awesome job of creating a lot of videos on how to showing application, showing kind of before or after kind of shots. So I've included a link in your show notes, and I'd encourage folks to check that out as well.
Yeah, we definitely take pride in the amount of videos. We try to produce content as best we can, the best how-to videos, how to walk our customers through the different intricacies of using certain products. Definitely follow our social media as well. Our Instagram is starbright_com. Facebook is Starbright Solutions. You can follow us on YouTube at starbright.com. We're definitely always trying to put out new content and tons of giveaways to get products in your guys' hands and just engage our followers.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again for being here. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Tanya, and thank you, PartsVu. Thank you for having us on and letting us spread this message, and for just being a great partner of ours.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the PartsVu Xchange Talks Boating podcast. Are you in a dock war with your boating neighbor for the cleanest boat? Check out our marine soaps, polishes, waxes, and more at PartsVu.com. And for free shipping, use the coupon code PVTalksShine, a special perk for our podcast listeners. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram for boating knowledge, to keep in touch with the PartsVu community, and for special sales and promotions. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and check out the show notes for the coupon code just mentioned, more information about PartsVu and the products we offer, as well as our boating blog, the PartsVu Exchange. And a big thanks to Min for performing the original music featured within this podcast.